Good morning, friends. Ash here, NPNP News. It's June 7th, 2026, and it's a hot one here in New York right now. Not only is it hot, with the temperature getting almost 80 already, but we got a lot of things happening, a lot of sports things going on, right? We got the Knicks in the finals versus the Spurs. We slipped out of San Antonio with that win, thanks to Wembayama's mess up, right? Wembayama messed up, man. He had the ball and he threw it to his teammate, but his teammate wasn't looking. That's going to go down as one of the biggest fuck ups in NBA history right there, because you had the whole game. All you had to do was get that outlet guy, maybe get a jumper. The game would have been different, right? It's amazing how things are going. But I was also trying to get back to the fact that this is just distraction with the sports stuff. What's really going on? I mean, ever since before 9/11, I've been trying to figure out more than just what I think was going on in the world, right? I was doing research even before the internet was created. It was just harder to do it, right? You'd have to go to the library and get a book on a subject that you thought was interesting. You'd actually have to spend man hours reading, right? You'd have to go look at magazines and microfilms and be in the library for hours researching one topic. And then the internet got created, and I remember at the beginning of the internet saying, oh, there's not that much on here, what's the big deal, right? But then you realize it's never ends, right? The internet is constantly expanding, growing with information, right? It's expanding at every moment. And so eventually there would be so much information on there that I thought that everything would become illuminated to us, what was happening to us. If you wanted to find the information, it was there. You just had to go look for it, right? And what you're seeing is, well, a couple of things just came out that I thought was pretty interesting that a lot of people, I think, that in my circle are ignoring, right? What are those two pieces of information? Well, there's hybridized humans walking around. The CIA's been looking for them for decades. And, you know, I watched a lot of Super Soldier and different kinds of channels where people are alleging that, you know, this stuff is happening basically in the womb now, where they're starting to fuck around with certain people who are, say, targeted individuals or from certain bloodlines that they're interested in, right? They're looking to target these people and at some points take them into or kidnap them from their families, take them into programs that are secretive that the government is using, right? Like if you've ever seen Men Staring at Goats, the movie Men Staring at Goats was one of those programs where, yeah, we've got a bunch of guys who are super psychic and they can kill you just by thinking about it. Right, which is like, what was that movie that came out years ago called, where they have like the telekinesis power and they're killing people and stuff, right? The CIA agent had $40 million in gold. We don't know how this guy got that. He's not even high up level, way high up. Imagine how much money someone like a Brennan might have who was running the CIA for a long time, or others. So, you know, not only are there hybridized human beings now, they're saying that there are 4 different species. Well, there's probably more, but the 4 that they're going to tell you crash landed on Earth were the Pleiadians, the tall and small grays, and the Draco reptilians and the lizard mantis people. And it was funny because I was just talking to my sister, and she was saying, "Did you see that guy Wembayama? How big he is? He looks like one of those. He looks like a praying mantis." And I said, "Exactly." Because he is, probably, right? Most people aren't 7'7". That guy looks like a freaking mantis being, right? He's like very long and thin, and he's not have a lot of muscle tone, and he just looks wrong. 2027 NDAA provision was seek sweeping U.S.-Israel defense tech integration. So in the background, what else is going on, right? What I was talking about before was that After 2001, most people knew something was going on, but those of us who are awake knew something was going on well before that. And we're watching as we're being steered towards something, right? Which it was like Agenda 2020, and then it was Agenda 20. But I think originally Agenda 2020 was Agenda 2000 or something, right? 2000 was supposed to be some other thing. Critics warn that Section 224 could deepen both countries' military ties, which may be difficult to reverse. So some people were coming out saying, well, this is Israel's final straw, right? They're going to take over the United States military, which they may already control, right? We're not sure how deep Israel's connection is to the United States in terms of military and other, right? We don't really know that. And how many, and then you see who's coming out of the woodwork? Hunter freaking Biden, and he's talking about Trump's a clone, right? Even he sees it. And now people are saying, well, what, is he the MAGA whisperer? What are you going to run this guy in 2028? Go ahead. I don't think anybody other than a small amount of Democrats is going to vote for the guy. You're gonna, what are you? It's gonna. That's the cream of the crop. A former crackhead. A provision tucked into the House Armed Services Committee's draft version of the fiscal year 2027 defense policy bill could move the U.S.-Israel military relationship beyond traditional aid and into a far deeper form of defense industrial integration. Section 224 of the drafted National Defense Authorization Act, NDAA, the United States-Israel Defense Technology Cooperation Initiative, would require the Defense Secretary to designate an executive agent to coordinate U.S.-Israel defense technology research, development, testing, evaluation, integration, and industrial cooperation. It specifically describes the provision as covering bilateral defense technology work, integration, and industrial cooperation. Supporters view the proposal as a way to strengthen cooperation between the two longtime security partners, while critics argue it would move the relationship beyond traditional military aid and into a far deeper system of defense industrial integration that would be harder for Congress, taxpayers, and even future administrations to monitor or unwind. The U.S. and Israel jointly struck Iran on February the 28th, leading to the ongoing war in the Middle East that has enveloped multiple nations. Ben Freeman, director of the Democratizing Foreign Policy program at the Quincy Institute, warned in Responsible Statecraft that, quote, Congress quietly moves to integrate U.S. and Israeli militaries, quote unquote, adding that the measure could intertwine the two countries' military sectors at a level not previously seen in any U.S. allyship. Right? That means that they're going to be closer than anyone else has ever been. And that shows me that there's a big problem if that's allowed, because Trump knew it was in there, and he put it in there, I'm assuming, and that shows that he's just an agent of Netanyahu in a sense, right? He's not telling Netanyahu what to do. Netanyahu's telling him what to do. He's just making it look like he is, right? By saying, oh, you're crazy, everyone hates Israel because of what you're doing. Well, that is true. That's one thing Trump said that's true. But this guy doesn't care, right? He's not Benjamin Netanyahu. He's Ben Nete. Remember that. Swatting incident at Justice Barrett's home is another hit from Schumer's whirlwind. So she got swatted too. They're trying to, what are you going to do? Open the door and blow one of the justices away in her own home? It's probably not going to happen, right? Ex-mayors join Kathy Hochul, Tisch, and thousands at New York's Israel parade, while no-show Mamdani bizarrely rides a bike around town in a business suit with no helmet. I wrote, obey the law, wear a helmet. This is a photo stunt gone wrong. This guy's looking like, he's looking like he's no big deal. It's no big deal to him. Well, why are you wearing a suit then? I mean, what are you doing? You look like an idiot. Why are you not going to one religious group's parade, but you go to everybody else's religious group's parade? Well, why is that? Well, why is this one group you don't like so much? That's odd. Here's an opinion piece, New York Post. You need to steal 300 gold bars before the CIA even checks your resume. Question mark. That's a lot of gold bars to steal. But the bigger question is, why does the why does the CIA have so much gold? Gold bars. Who's telling them to acquire it? Where is it acquired from? Is some of that Saddam's gold? Because you remember Saddam's palaces, there was some stories of massive amounts of gold found in some of these palaces, like huge gold hoards, right? That Saddam had stolen from the central banks or whatever. His sons had stolen money from the central banks. Trucks had been seen going towards the borders that were allegedly filled with, I'm assuming, cash and gold, U.S. dollars, whatever. Scott Bessent says it's fitting to put Trump's face on a $250 bill. Great celebratory note. So they're coming out with a new bill, but it's not. It's a note. It says it's a greenback, but it says it's a note not exchangeable for gold or silver, but it's a greenback, which is interesting, right? So and that's going to be a legal tender, but not exchangeable for gold or silver. But it's saying it's going to be legal tender, which means that they're going to come out with the $500 bill. Remember, like I was showing you the $100,000 bill before with a gold note? They're going to have that again, I'm assuming. And you'll be able to move your gold, whatever. If you want gold, you can go to Saudi Arabia or a certain country with a $100,000 gold note and leave that there with them. Present them at any bank in the world with that note, and you should be able to get, if you choose, gold bars, silver, gold, platinum, palladium. You should be able to get any metal, precious metal. I'm assuming that's what it's going to be in the future at every bank. Every bank's going to have to deal gold and silver like they used to do. They used to be with the silver notes and stuff, right? That you could go into the bank with a $2 or $5 bill that was a silver certificate bill, and you could get gold or silver for it. $5 worth of silver for it. Which back in the 30s and 40s, you can get a lot of silver for $10 or $20. Back then, right? You can get a lot of money, a lot of silver for $20 back in the 20s and 30s and 40s. Trump shows off plans for a drone port on top of the White House ballroom. So this doesn't make, I don't understand. It's a ballroom. Underneath it is going to be what? Some kind of satanic temple? And then you want to have a ballroom? What is going on? Is this a real skiff, like underground thing? Or are you making some kind of satanic underground clone lab type disgusting satanic zone? I don't even know what to call it. It's like a one-stop Satan shop, right? What do you want? Cloning? You want this, that? And then people, I remember I was watching this thing about in the 70s, this guy had a near-death experience and he came back out and said, oh yeah, I had a walk-in. I had somebody, some people believe in that. And that was the other thing I was getting to. What's going on? There's different ideas about what people think is happening to us right now. Right? Some people are saying, well, you're in a simulation. None of it's real. Well, if we're in a simulation, then there's somebody on the outside of that simulation that's running it. If that's true, then it has to be alien in nature, because, or AI, or both, or alien with AI that's using alien using advanced AI, right? Like the Draco or somebody like that. Because I had always heard that the Greys were enslaved to the Draco, and the Draco, who do they work for? Themselves, I'm assuming. But now we're hearing Anunnaki, Draco, but then you also have Black Sun group, Gold Dragon families, which represent certain ancient Asian dynasties and elders, right? Under the different dragon families that have different, like the red dragon, then different colors, right? So there's ancient groups that are vying for power. There's off-planet corporations. There's off-planet aliens that are in multiple densities, right? If you think that the Draco are in 5D, then there's I'm assuming alien groups out there that we're either aware of or not aware of that are in densities that we can't see, like 6D, 7D, 8D, 9D, 10D, right? Up to whatever D it goes to. Some people say it goes beyond 12D. I don't know. I'm assuming if everything around this galaxy is 12 something, right, then, like, people are wondering, well, why Why is there 12 hours in the day? Well, then they said Horus was, you got to go look at Horus, right? Because Horus did his 12 steps across the sky. What was it? Right? But Horus is just another word for hours. I was watching some Jordan Maxwell again. He always gets me learning something new. Horus, the 12 hours. The 12, right? Etymology of hour from ancient Egyptian or Horus, right? Horus and hours. WordPress, 12-step program. Where did the 12-step program come from? Well, it was called Horus, right? Here you go. This is from, Americans in Rehab. Why is it called the 12-step program? Why are there 12 jurors when you go into the court, right? What do you do on a court? You play a game, right? You go on a basketball court, tennis court, pickleball court, tennis court, right? And what do you do on those courts? You play a game. What do you do when you play on a tennis court? What do you use? You use a racket, right? It's a racket. They're showing you. Like Jordan said, it's all a racket. The whole thing. This guy Jordan Maxwell said something interesting at about the 8-minute mark. He said that during the Egyptian times, when the sun came up in the morning, it was called Horus. Horus walked across the sky in 12 steps. And this is where the alcoholic got the 12-step program from. Yeah. Right. There's 12 months in a year. There's 12 hours in a day in your day, right? On your clock. Why doesn't your clock go to 13 o'clock? I don't know. Global Intelligence report with Kim Goldwyn finally came out. I was getting worried. She's saying we're pretty close, that they're down to the dregs of what they have left. And, let's hope that's true. It seems like we're at the end of these people. That's part of what I was getting to, right? There's some people are saying, okay, the Draco are here. They've been here. They've been running your world for a long time. And there's evidence of that all throughout ancient cultures like the Egyptians and others, where you see the jinn coming up and you see these sort of hidden societies that are in each area. The Egyptians had their mystery schools where they were teaching secretive knowledge to just a small group of people, usually the richest among them, right? Jay-Z disses Kanye and Nicki Minaj and Drake in a scathing freestyle. I watched that freestyle. He was going like a cappella with like no beat, just like something written. He was dissing Jay-Z. Jay-Z was dissing Kanye. It sounded like. Israel captures medieval crusader castle during fight against Hezbollah in Lebanon. That was a week ago. Now Trump's told them to stop, but they're still fighting over there. New York City budget reveals there's $5.2 million payroll for Mamdani's propaganda office. The city budget does not provide full job descriptions for all 40 positions being made. One listed role includes a $150,000 campaign-style director position. I wrote, just call it the Politburo. These are easy peasy jobs that you give to some of your best friends, and maybe they kick you back something, right? Because if the salary is $150 a year, maybe you're kicking me $20,000-$30,000 of that, right? And you're still making $120. You're happy. I'm happy. Now let's say I got 5 or 10 people like a job like that, and they're kicking that money back to me in cash in different ways where it's not, right? I got a whole bunch of money coming in that I could be getting, right? The city budget does not provide full job descriptions for all 40 positions being made. Of course not. Because some of them don't have much to do, right? Here's Carlo Martin on X.com. It was translated from Spanish. Absolute madness. Some girls had the misfortune of taking the wrong route. They crossed paths with a pack of Africans celebrating PSG's victory. They pulled them out of their car by breaking the windows and they completely destroyed it. Yeah, I saw that. I don't think the girls were hurt other than that. I think they just drove into the wrong street and then these guys got crazy. You saw there was huge amounts of black and brown youth doing that, right? There was no white people almost at all that were trashing the city that I saw in the video. The majority, I mean, there were some, but the majority, to me, it was a black and brown event, right? of the skin color of the people doing it. Mostly it was the people that were not from there doing it, right? A lot of people that were brought over there doing it. And they made sure to show that over and over and over again, right? Here's Edgar on X.com, translated from the Spanish. Dominic Tarzinski, Polish member of the European Parliament, confronts some scammers who tried to rob several tourists at the Roman Colosseum. Upon seeing him, the scammers pick up their wires. No problem. Dominic said, "This is Europe, not Africa, okay?" I want you to watch how this guy deals with this guys and how they cower at somebody that actually can stand up for themselves, as opposed to most of the people that don't in this world. That's why these people are coming into your society and taking over, because no, there's not more guys like this. So let's watch this real quick.
No, there's no problem. No problem. It's not just speak nothing.
He's saying no problem.
I'm saying this.
My question is,
why
did you say not film? Why?
Is this no speak English?
Okay, I don't care. Okay, listen, we are here in Europe, you know? We are in Europe.
Parli
You
italiano.
can film it.
Yeah, parli italiano.
That's a public place. It's a public space. Why not video? Well, because of what?
Right.
No, it's my job.
These guys, no you speak Italian, no you speak English.
No, he speaks English. He said no video. Why did you say no video? Because of what?
No,
Because of what?
Because of what? I'm up in your grill now.
This is Europe. This is not Africa.
Okay, it's take it video. No?
Okay.
You got me?
Okay, no
Don't
problem.
touch me. Don't touch
Move
me.
along.
Don't touch me.
Okay, no problem, okay.
That's a real man. That's a real man. That's how you act. That's how you deal with people like this who are trying to come into your area and scare people for money, right? And then when you don't, and then they give you something, they say, "Here's a free gift. Hey, can you give me a little something though?" And you say, "Well, you said it was a gift. It's free, right? Why do I have to give you anything?" And it's a scam, right? And then they say, "Yeah, please, you have to give me something." And then they scare you. What if you're an elderly couple? You get scared and you give them, "All right, here's $5. Sorry, all right, leave me alone." This is Europe. It's not Africa, okay? I can film anywhere I want. I'm in a public place. You're in a public place. These guys, whenever you go into some of these areas, the first thing they start to tell you is, put your camera away, no filming. Here's the Omicron movie from IMDb. If you don't think it was real, it is. Movie came out in 1963 called Omicron. And what's the story about? An alien takes over the body of an Earthman in order to learn about the planet so his race can take it over. Isn't that what's going on now? Isn't there a whole bunch of people that might be like a walk-in, like the same thing? I'm just asking, dude. When did this come out? 1963. That's funny. Why'd you name one of the COVID variables Omicron? Because it's moronic. That's what it sounds like. It comes out to, you're a moron for taking the vaccine. They're telling you you're a fucking moron for taking the vaccine. Sorry, if you took it, I'm sorry. I tried to warn you for years. I tried. As soon as it came out, I tried. That's all I could do. I remember one day walking down this street and there's people everywhere with masks on, like waiting to get on lines for their COVID, test, whatever. And I remember walking down that street with no mask on, telling everybody, "Take your mask off." Like everywhere I was going, and people were looking at me like I was fucking insane. People are really just that's why some people call the people the sheeple, most of them, because they'll do what you tell them to do if they're scared enough, right? That's why the sheep, when they get scared, they go in a group, right? They get nervous, and they'll go wherever the dog barks at them that tells them to go because they're scared. That's how the sheep herder can keep control of 100 or 50 sheep with just 1 or 2 dogs, right? It's amazing. You ever watch a real sheepdog work? Just an amazing coordination with the master and his dogs, right? How they can control such a large group of sheep with just minimal amount of people and amount of force. In fact, no force, right? Just moving the dog a certain way can steer the sheep wherever they want them to go. Here's Camille Moscow from X.com. In the normal world, if you win, you party, you sing, and you dance. Not in this world. If it's Champions League stuff, and I don't know why these soccer guys, I never understood why people get this crazy about a soccer game. It doesn't, we're not the, in the United States, we don't get that excited about soccer. Even, there have been times though when like some team has won the Super Bowl or the NBA Finals and they have trashed their own city, but not to the extent that I saw this city being trashed. It seemed like this went way overboard. Like this was an excuse for these people to just let loose and attack other people and attack stores and rob and loot and burn, and it's just fucked up. I can only imagine what real people who were born in France are thinking right now, watching this go on in their street, watching huge amounts of Muslim men praying in some of the streets of their towns and their cities and saying, what is going on? How do I get rid of these politicians like a Macron when it doesn't matter who I vote for, they rigged the system? How can I get rid of them if the system is rigged? Serge Philly on X.com. Hassan Piker ran away when we confronted him over his comments regarding political violence and his ties with foreign governments. Piker, a far-left Twitch streamer, claimed he was being hyperbolic with his statements. I then asked whether it's appropriate to claim hyperbole each time he gets pushback for his words, and if that is simply a tactic to evade responsibility. He denied that he has evaded responsibility for his words, while actively evading my interview using his team as human shields. I then asked him for a comment on federal investigations into whether he colluded with the Cuban government. He did not answer. This is when his friend began trying to grab our mic. What are your thoughts? So, I'm not going to play the clip. I can't stand people like this. It's just a shame that people aren't more... can't figure out when they're being propagandized by somebody like this, especially who's going online, and then look, isn't he Cenk Uyghur's like nephew or something? Isn't this guy related to Cenk Uyghur? Chunk Yogurt, sorry. You know who I'm talking about. Cenk Uyghur, right? Chunk Yogurt. Let's see if he comes up under Chunk Yogurt. I'm just curious. Chunk Yogurt making fun of Cenk Uyghur. Okay, yeah. At Chunk Yogurt. Alright, so sorry, I don't mean to make fun of Cenk. I just don't like Cenk. I don't like people like him because he's out there and he's not telling the whole complete truth. He's not trying to find the complete truth. He's obfuscating the truth and he's only telling you certain things. Barksdale drone incursion published March 31st, 2026 by Air Force Global Strike Command Public Affairs. Let's check this out. What's the Barksdale drone incursion? Barksdale sounds like The Wire. They're rerunning The Wire on HBO. This is from March 31st, 2026. Barksdale Air Force Base, Louisiana. To clear up inaccurate and incomplete reporting, beginning Monday, March 9th, Barksdale Air Force Base experienced several unauthorized drone incursions that varied in duration and number of drones. Out of an abundance of caution in response to the initial event, Barksdale Base leadership issued a shelter-in-place order for the morning of March 9th. That was lifted that same morning. Operations from Barksdale Air Force Base continue unabated, and the incident remains under an active federal investigation. Okay, so somebody buzzed the base with drones. It could have just been, we don't know, right? It could have been some spy type shit, or it could have just been some kids doing something real stupid. And now if that happens, usually I'm assuming you lose your drone. And then they backtrack the drone to where they, maybe if you own it, they could find you. I don't know. Usually those drones have a barcodes and they could find out who bought it. Code Pink's Treasury subpoenaed Medea Benjamin backs plans for protest encampments throughout July, August. Whether it's outside a military base or it's outside of a weapons industry or it's just in any old place where you want to get together and create community and teach each other what we need to learn. So I think this is the Singham network again, that this is this network where it's highly funded. It's probably by Soros too, and others. Where they have a whole tent full of stuff, right? Food and signs and all kinds of stuff. We've seen in New York, some of these people show up with freshly printed signs like it's already been planned a long time before. They got this stuff all set up, ready to go. They got the people paid up who are going to be the protesters and shit. They're paid to get nasty and angry and scream and yell at the cops and make it look like there's all kinds of craziness going on. This group of protesters must be stopped, right? You got to go after groups like this and arrest the people, because you're basically supporting an insurrection inside the United States. It should be illegal to do what these people are doing. In some countries, groups like this are rounded up, tortured, and or killed and disappeared. Sorry, I didn't see what was the title of this. Mikey Sherrill admits Delaney Hall masked agitators are not peaceful, says she doesn't know what they wanted to accomplish. She was one of the people agitating against this place. She's responsible. This is about the Newark thing. You can go check that article out. Sorry, I didn't get the title of it right. Texas sends another wave of migrants to New York City. This is back in September 23rd, 2023, because I was remembering, wasn't it Paxton that was the guy flooding New York with illegal aliens? And it was. And so Trump is not backing this guy who was flooding New York, who was part of the problem in the first place, who flooded New York with all these illegal aliens. I get it, because they were coming into his state, but you didn't have to send them to New York. I might have to take multiple breaks in this show, guys. It's already getting very, very hot in my room that I'm in, and it's stale. And I have a fan going. You probably might hear a little bit in the background, but it's just for my survival, because I think without a fan, this would almost be impossible. It's to have all your windows closed and on a hot day like this. It was Paxton who was sending bus after bus filled with illegal aliens to New York back in 2022 and 2023. I just want that to be known. That's the person Trump's supporting. Here's Darth Powell from X.com, Vlad the Inflator. Walking around no-go zones in Germany. This man's also talking about doing street patrols. It's the only way you can take your streets back. Yeah, that's what I was saying like about 6 months to a year ago. You're going to have to start massive street patrols in all these areas. And you're not going to just be walking around with 2, 3, 4 guys. You got to have like 6, 7 to 10 people, because some of these areas are gang controlled, and 2 or 3 or 4 people is not going to do it. And they got to be guys who know how to fight. You got to be people that know how to, that are big. The bigger the better, really. Because these guys get real scared once a big dude gets up in their face. It's different, right? New York City landlord pleads for help. His 9-year squatter nightmare cost him hundreds of thousands. You couldn't get this guy out for 9 years. You've let these people in your building have to live with a violent maniac for 9 years. Can you imagine living in a building like that? You probably wouldn't renew your lease after a while, right? There used to be dudes that specialized in this. They were called Vinny Boom Bots, right? Hey, call Vinny Boom Bots and Jimmy Two Legs, right? Jimmy Two Fingers, whatever. Couple hard-hitting, pipe-hitting motherfuckers like that. Send them over to the address, pay a little call to this guy, and watch how the situation just goes away. That's, of course, illegal. But, that used to be how shit got handled back in the day sometimes. Am I saying that they should do that? No. But, again, do you just sit there for 9 years and do nothing? No. You got to get proactive about it. Call the sheriff. He's the one in New York City and counties. The person that gets people out is the sheriff. It's not NYPD. It's the sheriff. A lot of counties, when you go outside of the major cities, the power base is the sheriff, right? That's the guy that has to get elected in the community. Body of missing Los Alamos nuclear lab worker found alongside gun in remote national forest a year after she vanished. Okay, well, does that mean she discharged a gun into her head, or she was found with a gun but dead from some other way, right? And it doesn't make sense. If you're usually found with a gun next to you, I'm assuming, and others may assume by that inference, that you have committed suicide via the firearm, right? The question is, why would you do that? You're working in a nuclear lab, you're working on like fusion or something like groundbreaking stuff, and then all these people are just disappearing. Right? Why is that? Well, they don't want they don't want those technologies to come out, just like they don't want free energy to ever come out. That's why Trump never built it. Trump never built the Ward Haven array that Tesla was building on Long Island, right? Why didn't he build it? Because he doesn't want to give you free energy. He was told not to give it to you. In fact, he was told to double down on clean coal. Right? What does he call it? Clean, beautiful coal. Which is, it's the exact opposite. You ever see what people look like who come out of a coal mine? Go look at some of the old coal miner shots, right? Guys coming out with black lung. You ever hear of black lung? You know what that is? It's when your lungs turn black from all the coal dust you breathed in from working in the coal mine all day for your whole life, right? Oh, when you're living on land that the coal mine owns, you're using coins that the mine has minted, they're not even real American money. The coal mine owns you, right? Because you have to live on the mine-owned land, and you have to use the mine-owned currency to buy your food and your goods. They own you completely, right? So no, coal is not good. It destroys the environment. You have to blow the top off of mountains and scoop out the coal from inside and destroy ecosystems and destroy nature and pollute and kill people when we don't need it, right? We could go with a whole different kind of energy. Body of missing Los Alamos nuclear lab worker was found alongside the gun. We saw that. Mystery of New York City manhole mold people sparks theories, right? So they caught all these guys coming out of a manhole, and now they're wondering what were they doing down there, right? Somebody had a shovel. They might be trying to get copper. That's what I'm assuming they're looking for. Copper wire, right? Copper is worth a lot of money. So these guys are stripping all these, stuff of copper wherever they find it. They don't give a shit. They'll go into an old house and go in the walls and go. If it has copper pipes, they'll rip it all out. They don't give a shit. Copper wiring, same thing. How do you know what they were up to down there? There's no cameras underground in those areas too much. That's ways you can move. Well, I can move underground then if I know where there's access points to come back up, right? Some of those manholes, most of them you can remove them if you have the tool to. There's a special crowbar type tool, right, to open the manholes. And then a woman fell through a manhole that had no cover on it, right? She didn't see it. There was no manhole cover, and she fell literally right down there. In some of those places, if you fall in the wrong spot, you'll be scalded alive. There's steam pipes down there. It's like 150, 200 degrees. You could literally get scalded alive, like cooked alive down there, and they can't get you out. Mexico cops discover a massive tunnel into the United States from Tijuana, and it was hidden in plain sight. So I'm sure there's more than one of these, right? This one was open for years. Imagine how much drugs they got through this one and people. Iran calls off negotiation with the U.S. following Israeli strike on Beirut. I've never been able to figure out what's going on in Lebanon and other nations. Israel keeps attacking. It's just I don't get what they're doing in Lebanon. They keep saying it's Hezbollah they're going after. Election interference scandals uncovered in two major California hubs. So you're seeing that Spencer Pratt was ahead. He was going to be the second guy. He was going to be in the race. And then it's like the same thing that happened before with Trump. It's like, oh, this is how many votes we need for the other woman to unseat Pratt. We'll just keep manufacturing more votes and they'll keep coming in until he's lost, right? Because they can't afford to lose the mayorship of Los Angeles to somebody that's actually going to do the right thing. And it's appearing to me that California's got huge amounts of illegal votes going on. Right? Tina Peters, county clerk, jailed for election scheme, was just released. And it looks like she's going to be going. There's a big conference the Freedom Conference these people are having, right? With the Wano Savins and apparently RFK Jr. might be there. Not JFK, RFK. I'd be surprised if he showed up to a Wano Savin event. But of course, these people, it's a $275 a ticket event. Or is it $300? That's a huge amount of money these people are making off this. Then, of course, there's a VIP section where you can pay extra and you get to meet the people face to face and talk to, Michael Jaco and Nino Rodriguez and all these people. Pro and anti-ICE protesters face off in New Jersey detention facility. So now there's both. There's pro-ICE also showing up. They also were pro-ICE showed up at Canal Street the other day. And of course, when they do, these guys who are selling the crap all over manage to just ghost away to other areas, right? They move up a few blocks. So that's why I said you need to move in on these guys like in a pincer movement where you've got like ICE and cops like surrounding them from like different streets, and then you got to be in those alleys, and then you push them into an area where you can just grab them all mostly, right? Where they can't all get away and where they can't all just run down the street. Because a lot of these guys just have a blanket, right? They can pull the blanket up real quick and just jet off. You got to have like 50, 60 cops moving around these areas in on these guys. Police arrested over 780 people in Paris soccer team victory riots. Yeah, I mean, like I said, I saw mostly black and brown kids under the age of 25 roaming all over Paris just destroying shit for no reason. Is that to get people scared? Maybe. Free speech activists condemn UK entry ban for Hassan Piker and Cenk Uygur. Chunk Yogurt. Two left-wing U.S. commentators who have both been accused of propagating anti-Semitism barred from visiting for an event. I'm surprised they didn't let them both in. I mean, you let all these other, Muslims into your country that hate Jews too, right? But they don't want Hassan Piker in the country for some reason. That's probably a smart move. I would permanently ban Chunk Yogurt from my country too. I'm just interested that there's Piker comes out and he's like sort of the new version of Chunk Yogurt, right? Of Cenk Uygur. They try to spice him up a little bit. It'll be a little more raw, right? A little more hardcore. A little more violent, right? Murdered teacher's family goes scorched earth on New York City polls after serial sicko shoved him down the stairs. Can you imagine the lawsuit these people are going to file? This guy, not even an hour after getting discharged from a psychiatric facility where he shouldn't have been discharged from, who needs help, and within an hour of him being discharged, pushes this man down the steps to his death. I'm always glancing around me, man, when I'm walking around in New York. It would almost be impossible for somebody to sneak up on me. I mean, there's been times when I haven't been that vigilant, but, if I'm in crowded areas, I like to walk and make sure I'm aware of who's around me, who's behind me, especially if I feel like someone's near me. I think I doubled this up. Let me delete this. Sorry, guys. Mystery of missing scientist deepens after body of Los Alamos nuclear lab worker was found near a gun. We saw that article before. Hey Zoran, your new magic housing plan has been failing for decades. There's this idea that you can just build a lot of housing and it'll solve the problem. That obviously isn't the case, right? Why? Well, because it's a bunch of reasons, right? One is that the real estate value of the place you're looking to build in is worth a lot of money compared to, say, if you drove 100 miles north, right? It would be less. The land would be cheaper. You're in the 5 boroughs. Obviously, it's going to be a little more money usually for large pieces of land, and there's not that many large pieces left. There's a couple of rail yards in Queens and Brooklyn that could be used. Parts of the Bronx that could be possibly used, right? But again, it's like there's no money in it. If I'm just doing affordable housing for the people, I don't make a big profit. This isn't big condos where I'm making a 60-story high-rise in, Soho or something, right? Or in the Village where, hey, I'm getting, I got a 60-story building. I'm renting the top 10 floors for massive amounts of money, right? The top 20 floors, really. I'm getting 10, 20, 15, $25,000 a month rents for or their condos, and they're going for millions and millions and millions of dollars, right? It's not like I'm building little attached 2 and 3 bedroom houses that are going to be cheap for families to move into. No, but that's what you're going to need to do. Like what happened when they built the World Trade Center was they just, hey, we're going to condemn a whole crap load of land all over this neighborhood so you can build what you need to build. But that land went all the way north up to Chambers Street and beyond in parts of Tribeca, where now the land is worth multi-millions of dollars. Somebody got rich off that because who ended up owning all those parcels of land that were at the time empty? Right? There was a lot. If you were in Tribeca in mid-70s, Soho mid-70s, there was empty lots over by the West Side Highway, a lot of those areas. There was nothing on those pieces of land at all. Hassan Piker banned from entering UK and blames who else? Israel. Remains of missing Los Alamos labs. Again, the lab staffer found in New Mexico, but she left behind a wiped phone. That was the other part of this. That's why I posted that. Her phone got wiped, which is interesting. New Mexico State Police said in a statement on Saturday, investigators also learned that a handgun was located. Well, was it have all the rounds in it or not? See how they leave out details that would have been very interesting to know? Is it a full magazine or not? Or is it a pistol? What is it? Is it a 6-shooter or is it a Glock, a 9mm type gun? What is it? How many bullets did it have in the magazine or in the gun? New York City's woke socialist mayor suggests Pride Month should be even longer. No, it shouldn't. It should be shorter. It should be Pride Day, and that's it. We already talked about this bullshit. CIA psychic spy pinpoints 4 hidden alien bases he claims are operating on Earth. I'm sure there's way more than 4. Far-left streamer Hassan Piker and his uncle Cenk Uygur. Here it is, barred from entry to UK. That's the first article I saw that said that they're related. I wrote, so Cenk Uygur and a.k.a. Chunk Yogurt, is this Puke's uncle? How fitting. Runs in the family. You're all a bunch of assholes, as far as I'm concerned. American tennis stars who held pre-French Open dinner for black players respond to fury after it was compared to segregation by fans. Yeah, I don't understand. Why are you having a black-only players' dinner? Is there a Chinese-only, or players' dinner? Is there a Latino or Hispanic players, edition dinner? Is there a white players edition? Is there a dinner? Is there a European white players dinner? Is there a other cultures? No. Why does it have to be? I don't understand. Why are you differentiating yourself? I just don't understand. The mole people have plundered the sewer for lost treasures for decades. New York manhole mystery. Yeah, I told you about the mole people for a long time. They're way deep down. So there's people that live way deep down, that below where the subways are. The subways go down as many as maybe 6 stories in some places where there's deep level rail car stations that are used for multiple purpose, to store cars, to work on cars, to clean cars. There's deep areas where cars go that are out of service to be repaired and then put back in service, right? And so a lot of the stuff was moved way deep underground. I've seen some of it. I used to hang out with graffiti kids that would go down as far as 4 levels down to bomb those trains. Not literally, but with graffiti, they used to call it bombing, right? Let's go bomb those cars, bomb those trains, hit those. You want to hit as many train cars with your tag as you could, right? You want the whole city to see your tag all over, which means you got to hit multiple lines, right? You can't just hit one. You got to hit the 1 train, the A train, the 6 train, the N train, the R train, the 4 train. You got to hit all the lines, right? As many lines as you could that go to all the different parts of the city. So it goes deep. And if you're looking for, there's a lot of stuff, there's a lot of infrastructure down there. We have the 2nd largest, I think, underground subway system in the world, second only to London. Inside the well-stocked anti-ICE coalition tent raided by feds outside Delaney Hall, where rioters enjoy puzzles. They got games, they got food, they got first aid kits, they got signs, they got kinds of shit. I'm assuming they got money on hand to go bail out some of these people. Right? These groups have never been fully investigated by Trump. And in another country, groups like this and the people running them would have been long ago seized and accused of running anti-government or some kind of things like this inside the country. Right? You could be, in some countries, be charged with treason or some kind of spying or other. Right? You're in a country trying to pay other people to... You're paying other people basically to protest, right? Which is not like it's a... To make it look like there's a lot of people that are behind that are against ICE, but that's not really the case, right? It's just most people are for it because they don't want illegal aliens in their cities and in their towns. Trump reportedly tears into Netanyahu over Hezbollah strikes. What the fuck are you doing? Here's an opinion piece. Mamdani's booming agitprop bureau, agitation propaganda, right? Remember, we've talked about agitprop for years. They're using it on the people of New York. They're telling you they're doing it. This is an opinion piece. If you're going to have a propaganda ministry, what does that mean? Why don't you just name it the Politburo? Are we in like Soviet Russia or are we in the United States of America? Israel and Hezbollah continue to trade fire despite U.S. brokered truce. Sources: Trump backing off plans for anti-weaponization fund. Now the weaponization fund looked like it went through. The tax breaks that Trump's going to get, the no auditing from the IRS went through. Is that because the IRS isn't going to exist? I thought they were going to be taken away, but I had to pay taxes this last year. I don't know about you. I did. I had to. The man was going to come looking for me if I didn't. Canada needs a real reckoning for the mass graves hoax. Yeah, remember when the Kamloops thing and we reported it? It seemed like it was real, right? They were talking about they found all these indigenous bodies, but they never found the bodies. They never found any bodies. Why didn't you dig up that whole area? If you thought there were bodies there, why didn't you dig up massive areas of that and find the fucking bones? I don't get it. I would have been scouring those whole areas with teams of diggers looking for human skeletal remains until I found something or didn't find it. I think the reason you didn't dig was because it wasn't there. I'm not saying there aren't indigenous kids that have died in these schools, because they have been. I just don't know if they died on the levels that they're saying that they died at, right? You'd have to show where are the bodies then, right? There has to be some kind of physical remains, unless they're grinding the bones up into like a powder, and then there's nothing left of you then. So that was a big scam that the left apparently put out, that, and we fell for it because it was coming out in mainstream news, and so we were reporting on it, right? But we never could find the bodies. You never saw any skeletal remains. EPA boss made criminal referrals alleging Democrats self-dealing in lucrative green energy grants. Lee Zeldin alleges that 8 nonprofit cutouts, quote-unquote, were used to route billions to former Obama-Biden cronies. So it's the same scam that Obama was. Remember Solyndra and that whole thing? That I think that was Obama's baby too, right? It was the first early solar stuff, right? That was coming out when solar really didn't do that good. It wasn't it wasn't giving you that much energy, the solar at first, right? I thought they would have by now come out with the clear solar glass way more, where it would have been like expanding that solar glass into the houses with larger windows, so that, like imagine your whole screen door is a big piece of glass is really just a solar panel, a massive panel that's getting all that light. I mean, that's what they should have done by now, but they didn't, right? Why didn't they do it? Because they don't want you running your whole house on fucking solar. That's why. They want you on the grid. They want you paying for electricity that they provide to you. Here are the biggest primary races to watch on Tuesday. Race includes those for LA, right? That was last Tuesday, of course, with Spencer Pratt, LA mayor. And now it looks like Xavier Becerra, who's a known agent of theirs, is all of a sudden had a huge surge in votes. How about that? After voting day's over, of course, right? 4, 5, 6 days later, hey, we got more votes coming in, and guess what? Almost none of them are for Pratt. Isn't that weird? No, it's normal. Biden laptop letter signed by Clapper and others, a textbook deception scheme, ex-official says, including National Intelligence Director James Clapper, former Defense Secretary Leon Panetta, and former CIA Director John Brennan. Itself bore the hallmarks of a Russian disinformation operation. Well, we know that whole thing was fake now, right? We know that they went to the Pfizer court with fake information. They tried to honeypot George Papadopoulos, who has a really hot wife. That was a big mistake, right? You don't honeypot a guy who's got a honeypot wife already. He's not looking. He can't wait to get home to his hot blonde wife with D cups, right? You think he's worried about Ezra Turk and not getting laid overseas? I don't think so. The discovery of mass graves of indigenous Canadian children was actually a massive hoax. May 10, 2024. Federalist. That needs to be looked into more. Who propagated that hoax in the beginning? And are you telling me there's nothing? Because we know that indigenous died in some of these schools, but we're talking about students, maybe one or two here or there, or a dozen over time in a place, but not you're not talking about dozens and dozens and dozens of corpses. But then you heard about overseas, they found all those babies in the water tank, right? And it was like hundreds of bodies. And that was like an orphanage or something. Vandals sabotaged Trump's Freedom 250 event on the mall. So somebody was sabotaging the event from the beginning, threatening the acts that were going on stage. They don't want him to have a concert. And then Trump saying, well, maybe I'll leave the UFC ring on the White House lawn like permanently. I'm thinking, why would you do that? Why are you going to leave a UFC sparring ring like on the White House lawn permanently for? Are you going to be having like UFC fights every weekend at the White House from now on? Which is not a good place to have them because they have gnats all over the place and there's a bug problem. They're saying they might not even be able to hold the event there. There's so many gnats all over the place. They don't know what they're going to do about it. And gnats are, and when you bring lights out to a place like that's a swampy place already, it's going to attract every bug from 100 miles away. I don't know what's happening with the Trump event, the Freedom event. I'm just looking forward to like the ships coming into New York Harbor. That's going to be a big deal. I'm going to wait till I see that, and then I'm going to leave New York at some point after that time because I think that's something I remember as a kid very vividly, like it was 1976. I was only about 6 or 7 years old, but that was a big deal in New York when we had the 150th anniversary, I guess, was it, or whatever it was, of the 1776. 1976 was the 200, bicentennial, whatever you want to call it, right? So that was a big deal. We had all the ships come, the tall ships, the big and small ships. It was more ships than I'd ever seen in the harbor at once. So I'm excited to see what that's going to be like this year. I'll try to get some photos for you guys and share them with you if I do. Anti-ICE agitator who allegedly bit officers during Delaney Hall protest was previously accused of distributing child porn. So you see some of the people that are using for these events, they're disgusting people. They're not really protesting anything in particular. They're paid to protest. Callous cops handcuffed teen as he bled out after Sikh knife attack that sent shockwaves across the UK. I noticed another thing, that a lot of these people coming over to the UK especially, they seem that they have a lot of knives. Some of these people are hanging out in parks with large knives in sheets visible. I've seen video of that on X.com. Mexico shinebound to U.S. ambassador, hands off my country's politics. Singer Psy has been referred to prosecution over alleged medical law violation. Is this the guy that did, what's that song? That stupid song? Yeah, this guy. South Korean singer Psy has been referred to prosecutors on suspicions of receiving prescription psychotropic drugs through third parties. Okay, so this guy's receiving something like acid or, mushrooms or MDMA or some shit. Who knows? The singer, whose real name is Park Jae-sang, is accused of having his manager and other third parties collect the psychotropic drugs Xanex and Stilnox after getting prescriptions. Oh, okay. Oh, so he likes Xanax, which is really bad for you. Not good. Outrage as Google plans to release 64 million bacteria-infected mosquitoes into 2 states. What 2 states? I think it's California and Florida again, which they already did this in Florida once. I can't believe they're just letting them do it. And if Trump allows it to happen, you'll know he's in it with them, right? Because he can't stand Gates. He should put something out saying this is not supposed to happen, this is not supposed to be allowed. And by the way, the other day in New York, we got hit with one of the biggest chemtrail dumps I've seen in the last 6 months to a year. It was a multiple plane event, 2 planes spraying simultaneously. I watched it back and forth and even across themselves in the sky. But then something happened where, like, I don't know if it just moves inland more, but it moves away real quick and breaks up. There's another chemtrail that's being sprayed that looks more like a wispy one. And I told you a long time ago, that chemtrail eats up the other one. So there's some kind of war going on in the sky with these different kinds of chemtrails that I think that's, I guess maybe the good guys are spraying the bad one. I don't know. But Trump hasn't been able to stop them from spraying this shit all over us, is my point. Bitcoin was down to 6% to 66,000. Let's see where it is now. Just check it real quick. It's down to 62,000. So that was a few days ago. It's gone down even more. Look at Ethereum, $1,628 a coin. That was at 4,000. Cardano's coming back up, but it was at 24 to 30 cents. Now it's at 16. XRP was down huge. I mean, I saw XRP down to $1.11 a coin. It's down to $1.13 a coin. Bitcoin's at 62,000 a coin. And it's going to be worth 0 at some point, is my guess. Warren Buffett's heir to Berkshire Hathaway spends a cool $17 billion on 2 deals in just 2 days. These guys got $400 billion in liquid assets to invest. So you know what he's been waiting for just this time. He's been waiting for when everything's distressed and everything crashes out. Watch how he'll be waiting and watching. And when it does happen, and it's going to happen, he'll be waiting. He'll be there. He'll make the next fortune. Just like, Buffett made a fortune off a 2008 crash. He wasn't involved. He wasn't. It wasn't his fault it crashed, but he was there to make sure that he made a lot of money from it. And in fact, he had the government begging him to help them. Could you buy this bank or help this bank? Whatever. Can you help these guys out? They're about to fold. We can't allow Citibank to fold. I never forget seeing Citibank at a penny. As a penny stock for a while. And I was calling my friend like crazy. Dude, buy fucking Citibank. I don't care. Throw money in your account today and do it. I'm looking at Citibank right now at $1 a share. They're not going to let that fold. I wish I had a time machine. I'm going to jump back to that day. Open up a stock account about a week before with $100,000 and just dump the whole ride on Citibank, baby. Watch your money go. There's a couple stocks I was in where if I had held long term, I was in early on some stuff, but nothing too big. Quarantine hantavirus patients transferred from isolation center to homes across the U.S. So it looked like they didn't get that sick, did they? Or are they just making sure they got the full hanta now, and now they're going to put them back into society to try to get other people sick? That sort of didn't happen, right? Trump says bank accounts enabling illegal aliens to defraud the U.S. on welfare and send money overseas will be shut down. Yeah, I mean, how can you come over here as an illegal alien and get a social security card, get a job, and then get a bank account? You shouldn't be able to sneak into a country and open a bank account. They're going to say, what's your address? And you say, not in this country. And they say, well, okay, so you're a foreigner opening a bank account. We might allow that, we might not, depending, right? But if you're then going to get a job here and, certain things rules have to be followed. Access to our nation's financial systems must be limited to those who have a legal right to be here and who are engaged in lawful and legitimate commerce. Sure, you have people here illegally opening up shadow corporations and LLCs and then buying land and buying assets here that they shouldn't be allowed to buy. Hassan Piker's seedy, sex-obsessed life, soliciting nudes, list of best breasts in a separate laptop for porn. So he has 2 laptops, one for porn, one not for porn. Mamdani spin doctor who threatened Graham Plattner, sexting whistleblower, admitted he sent and received nudes. So the same guy who was helping Mamdani is helping this guy Plattner, who was apparently on some site called Kick, or some sex hookup website, sending dick pics to people and stuff. Dems push to change New York State Constitution and map drawing power grab to eliminate GOP seats. That's illegal. Some agency needs to step in and audit New York State. Like, we're in big trouble over here. These people have done so much crime and so much dirt. They've taken over the entire state and are destroying it piece by piece. There's too much fraud here. We need a special somebody to come in and take control of New York State. That's how corrupt it is. Same with California. Iran's new toll entity claims 300 ships have signed up for safe passage. So they're trying to make this thing a toll. They really are. So guys, I'm going to take that first break. I'm getting thirsty. My coffee just about ran out. I'm about 1 hour in. 104. Hope you're doing well, working out, stretching, staying in your center space. I'm going to check on the French Open match. The finals is on right now. Zverev is playing Kaboli. Zverev, the German, the 2 seed. I think in the tournament. He's one of the only high seeds that got through. It was the seeds just got decimated in this year's French. It was a very, very hot first week. People like Sinner went out. Sinner was up 5-1 or 5-2 in the third set, and he just folded. Heat got to him, and he lost. I've lost many a tennis match because of the heat, too. The heat is very difficult to play in the very hot conditions when you're playing tennis. So I hope you're well, working out, stretching, staying in your center space. We're still fighting this battle. We're fighting for the truth, trying to figure out what's going on. Right? There's several different hypotheses of what's going on. Are we fighting alien groups? Are we fighting off-planet corp? We're not just fighting the deep state, is my point. We're fighting some people that you don't even know that they exist. They're off-planet corporations, alien groups, etc., that are vying for control of this place. But they can't control it anymore because the energy is rising. Earth is a live creature, a live being that's decided not to be in the third dimension anymore. Has explored that and now is ready to go into the higher densities. And so some of these people who are low density vibrating creatures from other dimensions that are low vibration places, they can't keep the vibration down anymore. It's rising too high. And there's people that have come here to help that vibration rise up. Those people's vibration are starting to rise, even though for years you've tried to manipulate and destroy those people and hurt them so that they don't vibrate as high. You can't stop it. It's like a freight train that eventually is picking up steam, right? Albany Democrats poised to impose a 1-year ban on new AI data center construction. So there's no AI data centers in New York, they're going to say. But is it really just for AI to, make the new banking system for you? Or is it really just it's going to store every single person's DNA? Because that's what it seems like they want, right? Because that's what they're looking for. They want to know all the hybridized humans. They want to know every bloodline that's still around that can be traced back to Jesus, to Abel, to Cain, to the Melchizedek line, all these different people that are out there, some for the good, some not, that they want to know who they are, right? Especially those for the good, because they want to kill all those people. And they're never going to find out who they are because most of them are smart and they didn't use 23andMe, right? They didn't allow their DNA to get used. Or some people had their DNA used against their will, right? So friends, I hope you're well, working out, stretching, staying in your center. I'll be right back in one moment. This is your friend in New York, Ash, NPMP News. I'm going to just get this coffee and I'll be right back. In the meantime, you can do some sit-ups, push-ups, and burpees, and I'll be right back. Thanks, friends. Okay, friends, I'm back. Thanks for that break. I appreciate you. So it looks like the Democrats are continuing to try to mess around in New York with the voting system, and now they don't want any data centers, which I agree with. I don't want any data center in New York State at all. There's plenty of places you could put one in upstate. There's huge parts of upstate New York almost nobody lives in. People don't really know why. I don't know why. But New York's a weird state. You get like 3 hours north and you start to get into certain areas and you're just like, what's going on with this place? It's so weird. There's all these little towns nobody's ever heard of and just odd things. Iran has agreed not to have a nuke. Trump says he reveals he'll probably meet the new Ayatollah. Then they're saying that the new Ayatollah is gay and all this stuff. I don't know. That he's injured and keep hearing the same story over and over, but it doesn't seem to be true. Then I hear that they're not going to have a nuke. Then Iran says, no, we're not negotiating with anybody. Outrage as scientists push to create ticks that spread red meat allergies. Isn't this biological terrorism? Why do they want us to not eat red meat? For? They want us to eat like bugs and just, vegetables, I guess? I don't know. There was a time, I think, on Earth where most people, I don't know, maybe didn't eat as much meat. I'm not sure. I guess it depends on where the people were and what game was available, where you were at the time. Before man became where they settled down into different little towns and cities and then domesticated animals. But before that, what were people eating? Well, whatever you could kill. Right? If I happen to find some dead animal and it's not rotted completely, I might eat it and cook it and eat it, right? If you have fire by then. What did people do before fire? Did they eat other animals raw? Probably not as much, right? Because you can get really sick doing that. Yeah, you can eat some fish raw, but even then. Were people scavenging for berries and nuts and hunter scavenging, hunter-gatherer type stuff, right? Whatever you could find. And then, if you were lucky to, once you had fire, I guess you could start to cook meat that you could kill if you could stalk animals as a group, right? Like chase the woolly mammoths and chase them off a hill or off a cliff or something so they'd fall, and then something like that. Why do they keep trying to make it so we don't eat red meat anymore? I'm not sure. Trump signs voluntary executive order on AI, which means they have to have much more, the government has to have much more say-so in what gets okayed first. 60 Minutes star Scott Pelley was fired from CBS, so he should have been fired, I think. If you're going to, if new management comes in and you're completely hostile to those people and they're offering you a position, why would they keep you? I'd fire your ass too. You're not that big of a draw, right? You're old. I think he's old and stiff and dry. I don't really think he adds much to the show. You could find 50 other guys to do his job. It's not that hard. You're just reading script that people provide for you. It's not like he's actually writing anything. It used to be that some of these shows, the people wrote their own stuff, but I don't think these guys do. Karen Bass advances to runoff for L.A. mayor with Spencer Pratt trailing in second place. That was like 3 days ago, though. It looks like he's almost not second anymore. Bass will face the second place challenger, for which Spencer Pratt currently holds an 8-point lead. So they had to make up. Now, if he ends up losing an 8-point lead, that's well outside the margin of error, which means that, it's not close, right? If all these votes all of a sudden come out of the woodwork from Nete, who was seen crying before, that means they're manufacturing some of it, right? Because it's coming in after the vote. The vote's already done for, the vote's been over for almost a week and they still haven't called the race, right? Muslim socialist with ties to Al-Qaeda terrorist wins Democrat House primary in New Jersey. Hamawi defended Al-Qaeda terrorist the Blind Sheikh during his 1995 trial. So the guy that defended the Blind Sheikh on his 1995 trial is now in an elected position in the United States government. Let that sink in for a second. We don't seem to have any idea who's running for these seats, but it's always a Democrat if it's a Muslim person. Samsung ditches New Jersey for Texas, costing Garden State 1,000 jobs. Yeah, plus all that tax revenue, all that money they were giving you, it's gone now, right? It's gone. You fucked up. Far left Southern Poverty Law Center reimbursed Klan members for cross burnings, and feds say, they had even people who didn't want to be in it anymore, who just saw how bad it was. They're like, we don't want to do this shit anymore. And they're like, well, can you just stay and keep doing it? We'll pay you. I'm like, all right. You paying me to be a KKK member? Cool. Thanks, man. Can you imagine? That's what these people are fucking doing. They need the Democratic Party. Strange stench hangs over Orange County during a cleanup of toxic chemical tank that threatened to explode. Yeah, what was in that tank? What are you spreading all over the place with that thing? FBI raids $35 million Southern California mansion of tech boss charged with sending secret shipments to Iranian military nuclear program. So we got so many spies in the country, I lost track. Between China and other scientists charged with bringing deactivated monkeypox virus into the U.S. lying to authorities, right? So I was telling you that that's happening. Not only were they had found Chinese scientists trying to leave the country with biological samples, sneaking stuff into this country. What do you think happens to you if I get caught sneaking, going into China with some deactivated disease? You think they're going to be too kind to me? Probably not. Squad-backed New Jersey Democrat Adam Hamawi spent a month at Gaza hospital where Israelis later exposed tunnels and found Sinwar. So what's going on, dude? This guy's like did we just like elect somebody? Did New Jersey just elect like a Hezbollah or one of these people into their government? Is this guy even an American citizen? How is he running for office? I mean, we have a lot of problems in this country that need to be fixed. We have a lot of people in our government that shouldn't be there. And are you seeing anybody get arrested? Is all that lies that was about Gitmo was all a lie, right? Oh yeah, they all got tried at Gitmo. Remember that? All these liars? And then they switched the lie up, right? Because it's not working. And then they go, oh, let's have a big conference now. We'll all get together. We'll charge everybody who comes $350 a fucking ticket. Right? We'll serve you a fucking steak and we'll charge you all this money and you can listen to these guys lie to you and tell you some bullshit story. It's all coming to an end. It's all over soon. We're going to win. We're going to beat them. But you're never going to get med beds or free energy with these people in power. You're going to get beautiful, clean coal. That's what Trump calls it. It's not beautiful and it's not clean. If you ever look at old photos when everybody burned coal in New York and London, what the cities looked like, it was disgusting. There was a pall of smoke all over everything. And it was polluted, and people were couldn't breathe. I mean, New York is probably in its most polluted right now that I've smelled in a long time. The only time it's not is on the weekends when most of these food carts aren't around in some of these neighborhoods. These food carts are polluting in a massive way because there's just like a doubling of how many of them there are. I mean, there's some blocks where you see there's like 2 or 3 of them on one block. How many of these things can exist and actually make money? Well, if I shut down all the other delis and stores around, see, that's part of why they did that now. It makes sense. They got rid of all the little local delis and storefronts where you would get stuff like the same stuff that these guys make. And then they said, hey, you can have all these food carts like all over the place now that are right outside people's house, so you got to breathe in all this disgusting air. And why would you do that? Well, that makes people want to leave. Like me, who have breathing problems already and are like, you know what, I don't want to smell your shawarma cooking at 10:30 in the morning outside my house. Eventually, people like me will leave, because why would I spend all this tax dollars and tax and rent money that I could spend somewhere else and get way more services and have a third of the rent? Like, I can go to another state and for a third of what I'm paying here have all the have even more amenities. I can have a nice building with a doorman, with a gym inside it, where I'm secure, I'm in a nice area, I don't have a food truck anywhere near my fucking house, I don't have to smell your shawarma shit, and I'm paying a third the rent that I'm paying here. And I'm in another city. Wouldn't you rather go to that place? I would, because I'm sick of smelling the stench of your city, of your food here. You're ruining my daily life. Adam Hawami spent a month at Gaza hospital. Who is this guy? Just checking out Ari at Home's Game 1 Go Knicks stream. We won that game, and then Ari came out for Game 2 stream, and we won that game. Knicks are only 2 games away from a full sweep of the whole thing. In other words, they would have swept, I think they swept every level of this. Every playoff game that they went in, they swept that playoff series. Nobody's ever done that before. If the Knicks win 2 more games, I think that'd be the first team to ever do it by sweeping every level of the playoffs all the way to the finals and then sweeping that. Who would have thought that they were going to do that they'd be that dominant? And it's weird because there's still a lot of people coming out saying, oh, it's all rigged. What was it, the number 11? Then they were going back to what's the significance of the number 11? Brunson is number 11, 9/11. Then there was the significance of 41. I think Wembayama scored 40. His number was 41 or something. There's all this shit, right? That it's like it's fixed. The whole thing's fixed. And then there's people saying, oh, it's going to be Nixon 7. Well, if it's Nixon 7, that means that they got to win 2 games out of the next 3 where the Knicks are at home. The Knicks, I think, are home for the next 3. And the odds of that are low. Low at best. Because, I mean, the Knicks had an off game in Game 2, and we should have probably lost that game. But if the Knicks are all clicking, I mean, I saw Brunson made a couple of very bad shots. It's so funny now how everybody's a basketball connoisseur now and knows everything about basketball, right? I don't pretend to, but I've watched a lot of basketball over the years. I gave up watching the Knicks a long time ago. Knicks been bad for so long. After the 90s and when we when we didn't beat San Antonio, a lot of Knicks fans got crushed forever after that one. That was our chance. So maybe this is our chance now to come back. I don't know. House defies Trump and passes war powers resolution to halt military action against Iran, thanks to 4 GOP defectors. So they passed something to halt the military action because Trump basically declared a war without Congress, and you can't do that, right? You can't just go declare a war somewhere and send our troops off without a vote on it. Instagram algorithm pushes users toward anti-Semitic content. Study finds the study created 2 accounts, one interested in wellness and the second that was interested in fitness. Both personas were guided toward explicit anti-Semitic content. Yeah, I see a lot of that on Instagram as well, and it's like I'm not looking for it. I'm not like typing in like, hey, I want to hear some anti-Semitic guy, or I want to hear like some anti-Semitic person. You know, I'm putting in like just certain topics or whatever. Porn-obsessed Hassan Piker goes on shocking homophobic rant after Scott Wiener wins San Francisco congressional primary. I wrote, how does this guy get like 20,000 plus views on his Twitch stream? He's just talking a bunch of bullshit. He isn't even, that interesting. New York City's woke socialist mayor makes huge gaffe with city's Puerto Rican community, then tries to blame junior staffer. But if it's a Muslim holiday, this mayor's all in, I wrote, right? Even if it's even inviting Muslim leaders to Gracie Mansion, right? But he can't go to certain other groups. Day. He's blaming every single Jewish person in the world for what Benjamin Netanyahu is doing, right? Most of those people have no say over what he does, no power over what he does. Most of the Jews in the world never voted for Netanyahu, don't like him, and never voted for him, right? But yet you're going to hold all those people and hate everybody. You see how stupid that is? You see how stupid that is? So, otherwise, unless you've been told to push it, right? You've been told to push an anti-Semitic type of thing in the city more. Because that's where there's the most Jews outside of Israel. By far, the most Jews in the United States live in New York. No question. It's the biggest one. Trump launches probe into California election delays and claims Democrats are cheating in key primaries as results trickle in. I would look very closely at the Spencer Pratt race because I'm almost positive that something's is going wrong there. As they keep manufacturing more votes, keep coming in, and they just don't. None of them seem to be for Pratt again, which looks like some cheating that went on in the past. Scientists at NIH charged with attempting to smuggle highly contagious pathogens from Africa into the U.S. Was this the monkeypox virus? Was somebody trying to sneak a live, unactivated monkeypox virus into the U.S. and try to activate it here? I wouldn't put it past these people to do it. New York Mayor Zoran Mamdani dumbfounds NBA fans with Victor Wembanyama post ahead of Knicks Spurs final. Yeah, he invites Victor Wembanyama to some kind of event that the city's putting on, or something he's involved in, which is going to end right at the time when the playoff game is starting. And why wouldn't you invite some of the New York Knicks if you're such a big Knicks fan to this thing? Why would you invite Wembayama? Is it because he's maybe a Muslim or something? I don't know. Why are you inviting the center from the opposing team to the New York Knicks in the finals to anything having to do with the city? Why wouldn't you invite the Knicks to that? So I just wrote WTF. I have no idea what you're doing. What are you doing? Here's a piece from the Federalist. Scott Pelley was a highly paid propagandist. Yeah. So is Anderson Cooper. So is Wolf Blitzer. So are all those other assholes. Isn't it funny? I've been doing this for 6 years for free. I'm the lowest paid pundit out there. I make nothing. I do this because I want to do it. I do this because I think I could do it better than people that were out there doing it and making money doing it. I think I've shared multitudes more information than some of these people. And you notice that in terms of the AI data centers, none of those pundits are talking about your DNA being in those data centers. Almost none of them are. They're all saying, oh no, it's for the AI to create, the new system that we're going to be in. The new banking system, it's going to need all this information, the new web or whatever, right? We're going to make, whatever, dude. Sure. Scott Pelley is just one of many propagandists. Israel, Lebanon agree to U.S. brokered ceasefire. Fighting continues, though. There's no ceasefire. He's still fighting. Now Benjamin Fulford is alleging that Hillary Clinton, Barack Obama, and Bill Gates will be put to death via the firing squad. Okay, let's see it, baby. Light them up. He's also alleging now that Tom Hanks is Michael Rockefeller. So if you remember, Michael Rockefeller allegedly disappeared in some place where like Papua New Guinea or something, like way back in the day when they were still like headhunters there and like eating people. Where did he disappear? In some jungle place. Or is that really Tom Hanks though? Because he does look kind of like him. This is a younger version with the glasses, right? He sort of looks like Macaulay Culkin more, to be honest. This is the one they're saying that he looks like Hanks. I could sort of see it though. Could that be Tom Hanks with a few, the jaw's wrong? There's people that do these face morphing things. Yeah, that's Tom Hanks. But he's too old. He's not, I don't think Hanks is old enough. Yeah, they said that he was eaten by these headhunters. I don't know what he was doing over there, man. Why are you hanging out with these peeps for? They're probably looking at you like, that looks like some juicy white meat. Let's cook this dude up in a pot right now. This looks like he's getting along with these people. Did they end up eating him? I don't know. Knowing that he's a prominent person, maybe. Or was it just a story so that he could go away and they could be replaced by Tommy Hanks? I don't know. That's what Benjamin Fulford is alleging. So you can go check his page out if you want to get into that. Do I think that Tom Hanks is that person? I'm not sure. My intuition is saying probably no, but Hanks is a pretty big up person in this whole thing, and he was never. Remember when they were saying, "Oh yeah, Tom Hanks is dead," back in when he was like down in Australia or something, and this is replaced. Who knows at this point? With all the clones and people that are disappearing, and then being replaced, I'm assuming that these people are. Remember the Draco, what they do, right? They go inside of you using the proboscis. They can take over a whole person. Well, they do that with all the stars. Why? Because they want to be like famous. They want to be, who wouldn't want to be a movie star? And beautiful with all that money. I would. Wouldn't you? Is that some of the hybridized humans that they're talking about? Or are they hybridized in another way where like they were just been messing around with making different kinds of humans over time? Different alien races have been messing with our genetics. Yeah. Somebody's been stealing my fucking genetics for years because I've been waking up with scratches on my body that I already healed, which doesn't make any sense. Usually if you scratch yourself, right, then you get a scab in a day or two, but this is like you wake up with something that looks like you've been cut and it's already scabbed up. You don't even feel it. No, most times. Sometimes you don't even notice it unless you see it. Lawmakers quarrel over effort to boost defense tech integration between U.S. and Israel. See, they're trying to integrate U.S. and Israel more. It doesn't sound good. Andrew Mountbatten Windsor is seen with a huge mystery bruise. Look at this bruise on his face. This is not the Black Eye Club bruise. This is way something different. This looks like he either got hit or he fell. He's got a huge bruise on his face. It's like, well, it could be black eye. I don't know what this is. This is like he fell, because you can see he's got a massive, like he fell, and this whole side of his face is... Wow, that's bad. This looks like he took a very bad fall. Or he was punched in the face by somebody who punched him hard. Although the eye's not swollen shut, could this be another Black Eye Club Prince Andrew? I don't know. Former Trump advisor John Bolton is going to plead guilty to retaining national security info. That's one big guy you're seeing plead guilty. What about Brennan? Why has he not been arrested yet? What about Hillary and Gates and Bill and all the and you know, Musk, and it looks like they're all getting away with everything, right? And Zuckerberg. Secret Pentagon files reveal U.S. Army tested swarms of killer mosquitoes as biological warfare weapons. Well, they just want to, don't they want to release more stuff that's now killer mosquito stuff in Texas? I mean, in Florida and California. Why California? Well, if they release that up in the north, who knows what that could do? That's where you grow a lot of stuff in California, right? Mysterious triangular aircraft spotted over Area 51 sparked secret tech theories. That sounds like it's one of those reverse engineered craft. Mossad agent Epstein ally Erica Crony. Charlie Kirk assassin laps up wild conspiracy theories as trial looms. He doesn't have much else to laugh about. So there's all kinds of conspiracy theories about Charlie Kirk. Is he really dead? Is he in the pocket universe? Is he dead for real? Is that what it looks like? If somebody gets shot in the head from close range with a high-powered caliber rifle? I don't know. I've never seen someone get shot at close range with a high-caliber rifle in their head before that I can remember. But yeah, I would think there would be much more splatter than that. I would think there'd be much more brain matter with that. But you never know how a bullet can travel and what it could do. But that's a large bullet. It's a 7.62 millimeter shell, right? And, you know, that hitting a human head, you'd be talking about that bullet's traveling at a massively fast speed. It's going to cause a huge amount of damage. It just didn't look quite right to me. Minnesota Target store converts fitting rooms into Muslim prayer spaces. They literally are changing their whole world around so these people could pray wherever they go. Boy. Isn't this just getting tiresome at this point? This hallway with 6 changing rooms at a Target store in Minneapolis suburb was cordoned off, appearing to have been converted at least partially into a Muslim prayer area. That's how many Muslims you let into Minnesota. Trump's Doge purge strikes back. 8,000 federal workers face the chop under sweeping order. Where's my check? Where's my $5,000 Doge check, dude? Never got it. Still waiting on it. Knicks fan Donald Trump will attend Game 3 of the NBA Finals. Game 3 is Monday, tomorrow. And if you got tickets, I suggest you get there at least 2.5 to 3 hours early, because it's going to be a long time before you can get in. They're going to be searching. There's bag requirements that you have to be under, so be careful. I looked up the tickets. The cheapest ticket I could find was $8,900. It's sitting in the back. The most expensive ticket was $68,000. It was not even courtside. It was about, 10 to 12 rows from the court, though. Not a bad spot, but for 68 grand, I don't know. I'd rather probably buy a house or something, small house somewhere. I wonder who's buying that ticket for 68 grand. Are you? That's a lot of dough just to go to a basketball game. What do you think those stars are paying who sit in the front row? Pentagon reduces number of militaries recognized religious codes from over 200 faiths down to 31. Hegseth teased the order in March by stating that the Pentagon will use 31 faith codes for the insignia instead of the over 200 that currently exist, and that a significant majority of service members only use 6 of the codes. Yeah, I don't know what 200 you're talking about. Like the Norse gods? Who are you worshiping? Thor? Trump to nominate Todd Blanche as permanent attorney general. To no one's surprise, Newark anti-ICE rioters coordinate over signal chats and are funded by big money. Yeah, we're not surprised. We're just surprised it's been going on this long without these major groups being stopped, their funding being cut off. Albanians protest 1.6 billion Jared Kushner-backed resort in protected area. Yeah, I'd seen an Albanian woman talking about why they're protesting, and she was making a whole lot of sense. You know, she's like, we don't even have proper infrastructure set up. There's not a lot of jobs for people here, and you know, she's all of a sudden Ivanka Trump was over there, and she says, "Oh, I found this beautiful secluded area, this island, and it would be great for there to be a, you know, we could build there." And you know, the people are like, "That's a secluded area because it's a preserve for animals, and it's a private, you know, like one of those nature preserve type areas where we don't want people building there. We want real jobs. We want infrastructure. We want school systems that actually are teaching our children something. We want security, right? We don't want to have our government forcing us into some antiquated." I mean, Albania is one of those countries that's not been, right? They've had a lot of bad leadership, and you know, some of these countries have a lot of new resources, and they've all been. The more resources a country has, usually the more exploited it is. Usually, especially if it's a smaller nation like these are. Senate passes $70 billion immigration enforcement bill after all-night vote-a-rama. So he finally got this immigration enforcement bill put forth, which they funded ICE and all this other stuff. Cardano's coin was down 10% to 17 cents a coin. I saw it down to 11. Cardano was, at 17. I think it pulled back up. Opinion: legislature's data center ban is like economic suicide for New York. I think it's a great idea that we banned all data centers from New York. Bronx co-op residents rip Mamdani for over 30% rent spike despite affordable housing promises. He's not giving you affordable housing. There's no such thing in New York anymore. It's all expensive. Even what I'm paying now, which is not anywhere near market rate, is becoming burdensome. Which is why I'm leaving, because it's you know, if you're going to put a food truck underneath where I live too, and then I have to still pay all this rent, why would I want to stay here? My neighborhood's changing for the worse, and I don't like the way it's changing. And maybe it's time that you know, we leave the city for other people. That's usually what happens. Neighborhoods change. Over time, groups move in to certain areas. Like, you know, there used to be large areas of the Bronx that were Eastern European, that were Jewish, that were Italian and Irish, and those people worked hard, long hard lives, some of them, and they prospered. Some of them saved up and were able to move into the suburbs and buy a small house, right? White picket fence, the whole deal. Back in the day, you could buy a Sears house for $3,000 or $4,000, put it together yourself, right? Came with all the pieces, and imagine trying to put that together. The whole house. I'm talking upstairs, downstairs, the whole deal. Every plaque, every piece of wood, everything. Imagine trying to put that thing together. And people did it. Saved the money, right? Treasury Department moves to crack down on illegal alien labor, urging banks to report red flags. Yeah, but a lot of these people get paid in cash. Cash don't know where it came from. You shouldn't be able to open a bank account here without proper documentation. Yeah, you should have to have a passport. That's the first thing they should ask you for. If you don't, get out. New York City was sprayed with a massive amount of chemtrails on June 5th, 2026, 2 days ago. Woman claims wild neighbors built a 10-foot poop wall around her home, and now she can't sell it. So this is one of these things where it's not in the United States, but it's rich people who bought a big piece of land where your land abuts into their land, which they want your piece of land also. And these guys are doing some really dirty stuff to try to get this woman to sell. They surrounded her land with the mounds of dirt, so she can't even go outside of her space, which is actually illegal what they're doing. He's got a cease and desist order that he's not following from the local authorities. It's a whole shit show. This is what rich people do sometimes. They think they can get away with harassment like this. And sometimes they can. Depending on the municipality where and how corrupt it is, they might have the police under there and the sheriff underneath their power, and therefore they can almost get away with almost anything. Bitcoin Treasury shed $62 billion in deepening crypto route, so that's why he's saying somebody's selling. A lot of the whales that are holding a lot of Bitcoin are starting to sell it, and that could lead to it going even lower. I'm assuming it's going to be almost worthless at the end, along with these other coins. Spencer Pratt and ex-Fox News star Steve Hilton get terrifying reality check in California nail-biter. I wrote, why aren't all the votes counted on election day? It sounds like they're cheating again because everything's going down, so, it's like 5 days past the election, you still don't have all the votes, right? I wrote Bitcoin was down at below 60,000 at one point. It was at 59,758 a day ago. Cardano was at 16 cents, and XRP was down 7% to $1.09 at the lowest I saw. They pared back a little bit, but they've been decimated over the last couple of weeks. These are the coins that apparently we were supposed to be going to. All these specialists saying, oh, it's XRP. Yeah. Well, meanwhile, they're selling it to you, right? They're the ones selling it to you. Trump must accept the reality there's no Iran deal on the horizon, the next general declares. Marine vet fights off 4 hooded teens who try to carjack him. That was a pretty good video. Guy comes up, puts a gun right in the kid's face. He's like, yeah, what do you want? Want my truck? And just fought the guy one-on-one for the gun, and then the gun did go off and hit his truck, but thank God nobody was hurt. And then the kids vanished. They scattered, which is what usually most bullies do when you actually fight back. Iran declares support for Hezbollah, demands Israel leave southern Lebanon. Oh, you do support Hezbollah. Well, you always have, for years. All of a sudden, now you support Hezbollah? Come on, dude. AI and bot internet activity outpaces human use for first time in history on the other side. So AI and bot internet activity is outpacing humans. That means there's more AI and bots than humans on the internet now. New York City, New York politics live updates. Donnie says he's paying for his own Knicks ticket. His prices skyrocket. So where's your ticket? Because the cheapest one I saw was $9,000. Are you spending $9,000 out of your pocket for the ticket? I want to see your receipt. And if you're a little closer, then where's the receipt for the $15,000 or $20,000 you're dropping on that ticket? This guy's a moron. He doesn't want to sit near Trump. He could have sat in the owner's box for free, right, with the owner, and you would have had to pay $0. Which is what most mayors would do if the president was coming. They'd just be happy the president was in their city. It's bringing light to the city. It's good for New York. It's bringing a lot of people and business to New York. How is he affording that ticket? How much is Trump paying? Well, Trump's paying nothing, right? Because he's got invited by the owner. You don't have to pay. He's probably got drink tickets free too, right? But Mamdani said he's going to buy his ticket. Well, the cheapest ticket I could find is all the way in the nosebleeds in the back of the stadium. The back of the center is $8,900. Are you paying that out of your pocket? Where's the receipt? New York was hit with one of the larger chemtrail barrages I've seen. I was talking about it. Spread out more to the west this time. I try to use some throat singing. I try to do anything I can to break those up. Sort of like a cloudbuster machine. You can make your own cloudbuster, but it's with the copper wire, the same thing. You got to look into make a cloudbuster. Some people are making tensor copper wire, wrapping it around and making all kinds of stuff with copper, and realizing that copper grounds you to the earth. Yeah, people used to put copper in their shoes. We got to start making these copper walkers where like the copper's on the outside of your shoes, like, or inside. I don't know. Figure it out. Where you can be grounded to the earth like all the time through your shoes, right? That'd be cool. Master manipulator, CIA officer who stole $40 million in gold bars, also lied about being a doctor. Yeah, he actually had a whole like fake. He had like a whole fake like mission that was going on, like some operation he was doing that wasn't really going on, right? And somehow stole all this money. It stole all that gold. LA County vote counting facility appears bustling with workers as probe is announced the day after death sat empty. So something's going on. Were they actually doing something illegal at this place, and now all of a sudden there's people like there shredding all kinds of documents? Maybe. Cheapest ticket I could find for the Knicks game 3 at the Garden was over $8,000. Like I said, I think it was like $8,900. With some selling for $65,000 near the court. That was the $68,000 ticket I saw. Someone is going to find you. Unhinged New York City leftist threatens Nick Shirley. It's amazing how these people just show up out of the blue and they're like, they seem like an unassuming person, like some Democrat, like just noob that's just walking down the street. But then the guy turns out to be some like raving, like savage lunatic that like wants to kill you, right? And he has a dog, which seems odd. Right? You have a dog that you love and care for, yet you're willing to kill this guy or hope that he gets hurt, or wish him getting hurt. There's unhinged leftists all over the place. Just checking out Ari's Game 2 stream. Ari's doing a great thing. I mean, he's a huge star now in New York. He can't go anywhere on his stream without being recognized. There's huge amounts of people. I don't know how many people are following him on Instagram now. It's in them over 6 or 7 or 8 million, I'm assuming. And it's well deserved. I mean, he puts out a lot of content, a lot of good music. It's free. You don't have to give him anything. If you want to donate, you can. Coachella kills massive data center project after resident backlash and considers future ban for similar tech campuses. So Coachella campus doesn't want an AI sent data center because it uses too much water. Also, it needs a lot of land and water. And a lot of places don't have those two combinations. Knicks fans go bonkers in New York after Game 2. Yeah, the city was going kind of nuts that night. All the bars around me were packed with people. I could hear them screaming. I didn't even have to watch the game. I just listened for people screaming in the street to know the New York Knicks are doing well. I remember the same thing some years when like the Yankees were in the World Series. We had some really crazy nights in New York where I remember the city just going crazy. One of those nights where like the Yankees came back and won a game or something. You know, big game in the World Series. Opinion piece. Prospects of dim for Spencer Pratt in Los Angeles. They're using the same tainted voting system as before, I'm assuming, right? Did you think this would be fair? I mean, votes are coming in a week after the election still. How is that a fair election? How do we know where the votes are coming from? We don't, right? It looked like Pratt won, right? He was up there. All of a sudden, little by little, they're chipping away. The same thing what they did like with Trump in Pennsylvania. Carmelo Anthony was asked to leave the opposing team's tent 15 times before a fatal stabbing, witness says. So this whole thing happened because this kid was trying to mess around with the other team. He was asked to leave their little tent area where they were set up. He didn't leave. He wouldn't leave, and does start a fight with this kid, and ends up stabbing him, and somehow he's the victim now, the kid who stabbed him, because he's African American somehow, and it's racist. The whole thing, which doesn't make sense, right? This kid was there where he shouldn't have been, and he's trying to mess with the other team on purpose, trying to start a fight. The kid even says, I'm not going to fight you at a track meet. So he just goes and stabs him in the fucking chest, and then tries to hide the weapon and run. This kid should be put on a murder, be charged with murder, and should be convicted of murder. I don't know how he raised over all this money. Then he does a GoFundMe and raises hundreds of thousands of dollars, like saying he's being like falsely accused. It doesn't appear that you are being falsely accused. It appears from all the eyewitness accounts that you instigated this event and you did it. And you may have in fact pre-planned it. Because you showed up to a track meet with a weapon in your bag. And then you instigated a fight with the other team's players, other team's members, and then you stabbed one of them to death because you said you felt threatened, but you were in a place where you shouldn't have been in the first place. If you felt threatened, you could have left the team's tent where you had no business being in the first place. So it looks like this kid is going to get life or the death penalty, and rightly so, because it looks to me like he instigated the whole event and it never should have happened. And it's a racist event that you tried to instigate this fight, and it turned out to be something way more horrific, and somebody got killed over nothing. This should have never happened. Afterthought candidate surges past ex-Fox News host to become frontrunner in California's governor's race following extraordinary turnaround. Right? All of a sudden, Becerra's winning this thing. What? He's washed up, dude. No, he's not. We just got the vote machine going all night long, printing votes out, printing ballots out like crazy. Carmelo Anthony dealt 4 hammer blows as witnesses trash claim Austin Metcalf, 17, shoved a teen killer who claims he only knifed the athlete to death in self-defense. Charge him as an adult. He was in the other team's tent on purpose. He had no reason to be there. He instigated a fight. And then he brought a weapon to that. I mean, this to me looks like premeditated murder. You went there to either start a fight and or kill this person, it looks like to me. Because why would you bring a weapon with you then if you didn't want to kill the guy? If you wanted to just go start a fist fight, that's one thing. But you went there with a weapon. Scientists issue first contact plan as they await message from alien civilization. What are you talking about? They already been here, dude. They're already here. Tesla was talking about talking with aliens back in the 20s, in the 30s. What are you talking about? They've already had aliens talking about. Their aliens are here already, dude. They've been fucking here. If they're not here, then go open up Area 51 and 52 and march everybody out from the deep bases that are under there if they exist. And show me who's down there. Because I think you already told us that 4 different alien species have crash landed on this planet, right? The Greys, the Pleiadians, the Mantis peeps, and the Lizards peeps. The Draco. Okay. Well, if those 4 have crash landed, then and you've hybridized, and you have hybridized human beings walking around. Well, who hybridized them? You, right? You and the aliens that you were working with did. That needs to come out, understand? And then the people that were hybridized need to be paid some kind of money, because not only were you messed around with, you were like kidnapped by your government in some instances. Maybe your DNA was stolen from you, and then they made other clones from you and used your DNA to create other beings against your will. That's illegal. Maya Hawk says Mom Uma Thurman practiced witch-adjacent remedies. Well, if you're doing witch-adjacent things, that means you're a witch, or you're planning, or you're doing stuff that witches do, right? Uma most likely in a coven, a witch, or both. I wrote. Trump could get away with bulldozing the Statue of Liberty if he wanted, DOJ argues in ballroom fight. Well, he does need to bulldoze it, because it's a satanic kind of thing, right? Saturn, Satan, Horus, hours. See how they sort of take the past and they just leave some information out so you don't get it fully, right? Now you know why there's all this 12, 12, 12. This goes back to, like, you know, Horus. This goes back to the sun god Ra. Sun god worship. Sun, right? The way to the Father is through the Son, right? This S-U-N, right? Not the S-O-N. Inside the Democrat ploy to deploy Hunter Biden as secret MAGA whisperer to capture disillusioned Trump supporters. That's not going to happen. Are Dems thinking, let's run this crackhead for president? Peru to elect their 9th president in a decade amid tensions and skepticism. If you have had 9 presidents in 10 years, something's wrong with your country. It's obviously highly, highly corrupt. CIA officer caught with gold bars created a fake intelligence operation. Yeah, he had this whole world created fake. Spencer Pratt lashes out over L.A. mayoral vote counting after he loses more ground to surging Democrat rival as new ballots flood in. Yeah, if they all flood in and you end up losing and most of those ballots are not for you, you'll know you got ripped off. Question is, what are you going to do about it? What can you do if they're still doing it right in front of your face? I mean, look at the Newsom recall vote. The vote was changed right in front of your face on the television screen, just like in 2020, and nobody said anything. Nobody cared. It's like they come out with, hey, guess what? 4 different alien races have crash landed here over the years, and we don't know. Some of them might have been still alive. And we don't know how many of others of those species have landed here and we didn't find them and they just got assimilated into the society or whatever, right? Or they were Draco and they got in the cave system. But I think the Draco are coming in through, like, we're coming in through probably portals more, right? Like CERN, they're using CERN to bring in entities. That's why didn't Trump close any of this down? He should have come out and said, hey, they're using CERN to make open portals and demonic entities are coming through. I'm shutting CERN down right now. We're gonna bomb CERN today. Why didn't they bomb CERN? Force them to blow it up. Haunting photos show UFO Biden administration used $500,000 missile to shoot down. What it turned out to be was far more embarrassing. I had originally said this looks like a balloon, right? It turns out I was completely right. Remember that? It was so obvious. Like, what are you talking about? You shot this thing down thinking it was a UFO? Why does it have why does it look like a fucking balloon? Right? Remember? You blew up a balloon, dude? No. Yeah, it's just floating. What is this, like, thing? It looks like it has a string on the end of it. Come on, dude. You blew up a balloon and it cost $500,000 to do it. You could have just strafed it with your bullets, right? You should have flown at it and just strafed it with a few bullets. You would have popped it. It would have been a lot cheaper. No, I'm gonna use a Scud or a Sidewinder missile. Idiot. So that was a balloon. I was right. Inside South Africa's whites-only enclave, where young people are flocking after deciding it's not so wonderful elsewhere, and it's nicer to be the majority. Well, what do you mean elsewhere? They were starving white people to death in some areas. If you had a farm, they were coming on your farm and killing and raping your freaking family, and then taking your land. I mean, you damn right you're gonna go somewhere where it's whites only in that scenario. The only other place you can go is living with people that some of them want to kill you and have no problem coming on your land and killing, raping your family and killing them. I don't want to assimilate with people like that. I don't care what race you are. If that's the way you want to treat me, I'm not. Why would I want to be assimilated into your culture? I wrote, it beats getting murdered on your own farm. Living in a whites-only community, it beats getting murdered on your own fucking land, doesn't it? Where you'd have no protection. Yeah. This is what happens when, you put all these groups into, like, France and stuff. You saw what happened in France. They just have the homeowners and the business owners will make their own gang. And they got money and they got other assets that they can make and pay others to protect them. And then they're going to come after you. The gangs that are forming with the people that just came in, well, you're going to have to deal with the people that are already there. And some of them don't like you too much and are willing to become violent if you become violent with them. And are sick of you stealing from them and messing up their towns and their areas, and are going to start fighting back in numbers, right? And when that happens, you lose because you don't have the numbers. And you don't know how to fight. And a lot of these people do. Panic at 60 Minutes as rumors fly that Joe Rogan is going to become the new host. Are you kidding me? Is that a way to make it more palatable for people to watch 60 freaking minutes? If Joe freaking Rogan's on it? I go, you're just replacing one gatekeeper with another. And that's all they're doing. That's what they're trying to do. They're trying to set up the new world that they want to have that's not going to be able to exist in the in the high vibration that's coming. But what they want to do is try to set it up before this happens, before some either event happens or enough people wake up where the vibration raises. I don't know if that's the other part of this. Is there going to be some kind of a solar flash, like people are saying, where there's 3 days of like darkness where nothing works anymore? It doesn't seem like something that would make sense. Like a Carrington event, they call it, right? Where like there was a massive geostorm of massive solar flares from the sun can cause of devices to just go out. That's a possibility, of course, right? What I think is happening, though, is that it's a twofold or threefold or fourfold thing, right? There's an ascension process going on where the Earth is in a part of the galaxy where the energy is completely different. We're being hit with different energies maybe gamma, where it actually is changing our DNA, because I could feel mine changing, literally changing. And if I look at pictures of my body from even 5 or 10 years ago, it's nothing like it is now. Even now, when I get tan, my skin is getting darker. The sun is changing us. The sun is so much more strong. I can't take much. The sun is extremely more powerful now, it feels like, than it was. The white sun that I'm seeing, not the yellow 3D sun, the white sun. Is a solar flash going to come change our DNA, and all of a sudden people are going to be like superheroes, able to heal, like X-Men type thing? That's a possibility that I see happening in some point, because if our DNA is in fact changing, we don't know what it's changing into. We don't know what, as we continue further into this energy that we're in now, what's going to happen to humans, because there were no humans on Earth, I think, the last time we came around this cycle. Right, we're going on talking about galactic cycles around the galactic sun. That's a whole different thing. We haven't even been around one full cycle yet, I don't think. There's some cultures that have been multiple cycles. Those are the ones that are much more advanced, obviously. So we're like a baby in this thing. We're a literal baby. And I think we're just coming out of this point where we're not going to kill ourselves anymore. We're not going to allow foreign, all this war and all this violence has not been us. It's not been human wanting to do this. It's been humans forced to do this to those that have ruled over us for thousands of years. Because they're harvesting our loosh, and they're using it as a sort of living forever potion, right? And if that's the case, we are owed time. We are owed lives. We are owed that potion. We are owed our own loosh back. We are owed monies. We are owed damages as for being turned into slaves. We are owed damages from being poisoned by our government. We are owed damages from some of us being kidnapped by our governments and used in secretive programs like MK Ultra and others. We are due damages from being enslaved by our government knowingly and turned into money and turned into 30-year bonds that are being issued against our strawman name. And we demand recompense, and we demand it now as humans on this earth. We do not consent. We do not consent to any control over ourselves at all. We do not consent to control over our land. We do not consent to taxation without representation. So friends, I continue to do this work for free. I appreciate you. I hope you're well, working out, stretching, staying in your center space. We'll continue to watch and report on these people and what they're doing and their actions as we try to free the United States from the clutches of people who have ruled over it since its inception really, and who have controlled it since its inception. Those Masonic groups that don't have the best interests of this country. I don't care what you say you are. If you're a Mason, you don't have the best interests of this country at heart. You're part of a secretive society that you're hiding from the public, that is seeking and has sought to steer policy and the public's perception for generations, and it has to end at some point, and it has to be exposed, in my view. So friends, I hope you're well, working out, stretching, staying in your center space. This is your friend, as always, in New York, Ash, NPNP News, signing off for now.